I won't hold you down.
How's it going, guys? Welcome to a special YouTube-only version of the Roundtable with Pujan Goaltending. I'm here with my co-host extraordinaire, Jamie, and we have a special guest today, Taylor Woods. How's it going, Taylor?
Hey, it's good. It's good.
So we call this impromptu episode because we've been putting out a lot of online content for our goalies, me, Jamie, and Elbow. And one of the skills development series that we've been doing is Quick Feet for goalies. And I'm getting a lot of videos from our goalies and other goalies that have been sending us back for critiquing. And there's been, I love the effort, but there's been a lot of like little mistakes. So I thought this would be a great opportunity for us to get Taylor on and have Taylor, who's been doing all of our foot speed drills, kind of talk to us about what's important when you guys are doing this stuff at home and how to kind of maybe self-assess whether you're doing this right. And if we have any questions or ideas, we can bounce off Taylor so we can kind of help you guys improve this aspect of your game while you guys are in quarantine heaven. So she's going to demonstrate some stuff for us. Before we get started, though, Taylor, is there anything you want to convey to the goalies that are watching this about in terms of what they should be looking for or things that they should be focusing on when they're doing this stuff at home by themselves?
Two major things popped up. So talking about technique, right? You got to practice technique. You got to practice these things. And even if it's simple, I'm just shuffling to a cone and shuffling back. Your body and your positioning has to be there. The same as you're sliding post to post, right? So everything has to be there, and it takes repetition and practice to do that. So starting off with the simpler stuff, mastering the simpler stuff, getting sort of each rep in, counting the reps, and then speeding it up over time, right? If you master it first and you know your positions, you're going to get more powerful out of that and just quicker overall. So first one is just going to be probably the most basic one. So if you have cones like I have here, perfect. But if you don't, you could use any sort of marker, right? Water bottles, textbooks, I say a lot. Anything that's sort of visible that you know where you could just mark out. So I'm just going to mark it out. You can mark it out about 3-5 meters. Doesn't have to be too far because all you're working on is really that stop and that cut aspect. In terms of a shuffle, this is probably the most related for goalies in general, and that sort of stop pattern. You want to stay low, making sure when you're coming over, right? My body position, I'm going to be still over my base leg because I want to translate the other way, right? And my leg's going to be out, right? You don't want to be too far over, right? Because now how am I supposed to push back the other way? So when you shuffle, right, I'm going to be stacked over top, ankle, hip, shoulder, head, stacked over top. And my leg is just there so I could push off the other way. So in these shuffle drills, right, you can use them as a warm-up. You can use them as maybe like a prep before your game because it's simple. There's simple patterns to go through. So you just start at the cone. You're going to shuffle one, stop, other, right? Get into the groove, get your head up, get your hands going, and find that sort of foot pattern and that foot like traction on the ground so you could push the other way. Pretty basic.
When guys are doing this, some of the questions that I've had and some of the feedback that we've gotten is when we do something simple like this, how long are they doing this in duration and how many sets?
So depends on, so if you are not that great at this pattern, right, and your body's all over the place and my stops are not good, that's when more comes into play. So if you want to go a little bit as a warm-up, slower, I'm going back and forth, maybe it's going to be about 20-ish seconds. But if you're doing it for speed, it has to be short, right? You can't go all out for 20 seconds, right? So around that 6, 8, 10 seconds, more sets. So do it like, if it's 6 to 10, rest about a minute, do it about 4, 6, 8 times.
Now, should goalies have their hands like they're in a stance when they're doing their shuffles? So their hand, their glove, and their blocker in the proper position.
Yeah, I think it's beneficial because it's more sport specific. Then they're sort of thinking about their game. They could even visualize that aspect. So if you're adding it to like a pregame routine, right? Now they could start seeing where puck's going, how plays happening. Of course, you're not going to be shuffling as far across your crease because this is larger than a crease, but you start getting into the game.
Way to go, Philly. Just butchering us.
I don't know what to do. My dad's playing music. Give me a break. I'm trying my best to mute whatever I can.
That's okay. Robin has the clout. He can do what he wants.
That's true. She get hit on the pod sometime.
So that's a basic shuffling lateral drill. In terms of, say, goalies that have to change depth, as goalies, we don't just move laterally. We move kind of on 45s, we move on 33s, we move on different types of angles. We gain depth, we give depth. Is there some sort of drills that you got that can work on their ability to change depth quickly?
Yeah, even just any type of lateral bound, any type of changing their chest. So I'm just going to set up a box drill here.
I was really hoping you're going to say we changed on 22s. Just like inch rims.
All right there, Phillips.
Little joke. I'm a funny guy.
So I'll actually set up this one because you guys are probably at home with your parents or some sort of sibling, right? And let's sort of get you can have a little bit of competition with your sibling and a little bit more like camaraderie with your parents as your parents sort of shout out where to go. So you're going to start right in the middle, okay? So they could say if your cone, you could identify each cone. So I'm going to say top is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So a little bit of reaction type sense because a game, you're like, it's all about reaction. So all I'm going to do, so I'm going to take off with one leg and come back. So if I have to go back here, right? I'm going to take off with one, come back, and stop facing forward. Come back, stop, facing forward. Back to my body, back, face forward. So now you have to turn that body. It's a simpler sense because now I'm only worried about 2 movements. I'm going out and then coming back.
So
again, adding that.
Goalies will have their parents or brother call out a random number. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So
we could do it.
Yeah, let's do that right now.
Yeah, you're watching me do this drill. So 1, 2, 3 is back right for me, and then 4.
All right. 3, 2, 3, 1, 1, 3, 4. Pretty good.
Yeah. So it's more about, again, relating to the lateral shuffles, going one to the other. It's about that foot. I didn't really go too fast to make sure my body was somewhat turned, planted, pushed back. I landed with a 2-foot stop, facing forward, making sure I was set.
Lead the chest, right, Boosh?
Yeah, she knows. She's been getting the lessons on turning the chest and leading with the chest.
I thought you were gonna say that after the second one. You know, it's like, oh man, this girl's pretty flat coming out. So
well, I'm watching it through a screen, so it's a little tougher to see. But you're getting better every day at it.
You'll be a goalie soon.
So in terms of frequency, what would you suggest? What would you suggest that our athletes? How many times a week should they be performing some of this foot stuff?
If it's something that you need to work on, I would incorporate it at least 3 times during the week, making sure you're having some sort of off time in between. But if your purpose is getting speed into it and building up power, you need that at least 24 to 48 hours. And I would push more towards the 48 hours of rest in between, because you're pushing your nervous system, you're pushing your body to a certain extent. It's not like a squat, right? But you're still sort of pushing that speed element. So you do need to recover from that strenuous training.
So you talked about speed, the difference between like a speed and power. If a goalie, so what we want our goalies to be is self-aware. So if you're a goaltender that say, you're pretty agile, your foot speed and your quickness is pretty there, but you lack strength and power. What type of stuff would you suggest for strength and power you would do, as opposed to a guy that needs to work on more foot speed or agility stuff?
Yeah. So I will set up so it's going to be the same drill. It's going to be more of a lateral bound, okay? But it could be a lateral bound for speed and a lateral bound for power, right? So lateral bound for speed, you're just going to go for a certain time duration. Compared to power, you're just going to go for a few reps, focusing on each rep mattering. So all I'm going to do, so if it's for speed, I'm just going to bounce, right, try to push off as quickly as I can. For power, I'm trying to get as high as I can, as far as I can. So I'm going to regroup after each rep. So I'm coming in, jumping up, sticking, making sure I come in and stick. In terms of power stuff, I would lean towards more plyometric stuff. I know the last series that you put out was very much power, even though there was some sort of foot exchange in there for speed. But I would deem that more for a power type exercise.
So for those that are watching that don't know, when you say more plyometric based, what do you mean by that?
Jump training. So anything jumping up as high as you can, anything that's jumping as far as you can, loading your legs, loading your hips, and exploding up over trying to get as many foot touches as you can.
So you see a lot of guys using the agility ladder. I have my thoughts on the agility ladder. What are your thoughts on the agility ladder?
Yeah, pros and cons. I know I got hit a couple of times over the last few years, but it's patterns, right? It's sort of building up, knowing the patterns, knowing how your body's moving, and having that body control. And it's also good for people that if they're coming in, and right, my feet are randomly everywhere, and it looks like I have like 2 left feet. An agility ladder is good to hone in on like a closed drill, to making sure like they're getting that pitter patter through their feet and they're on the balls of their feet as well. Going back, it is a closed type of drill, right? And hockey, right, you're pushing, yes, there's similar patterns, right? But you never know where that person's going to be in the back door. You never know how you have to change your body in order to make those saves. So that's the only downfall about it.
Yeah, I see some of my guys doing the ladder. My suggestion on that is I think the stuff that we're putting out is more kind of specific to your sport. Now, I'm not all about doing sport specific or position specific all the time, but in terms of the agility ladder, I don't see much carryover. So I'd rather see the guys doing some of the stuff that me and you've been putting out. I know Jamie started doing some agility ladder in his career. What are your thoughts on that, Jay?
I think the agility ladder is just a good warm up, really. Like Taylor said, it's a closed environment, so everything's predictable. Nothing really changes. It's good for beginners or kids who really lack the coordination to maybe do even some of these drills that Taylor's showing, because they do require a lot of balance, coordination, and if the kids don't have those, they might struggle. So it's good for warming up, gets your feet going, gets your blood going, and it's good for beginners, but there really isn't any translation because there's very little hip movement. There's very little true change of direction where you're changing the center of mass to go one way or the other. It's better than nothing, but it's not the best.
Here's like a simple drill. It works on like the speed, so any foot speed. And like the thing with even some athletes, if you're noticing if they're coming up to a cone, right, and their feet are like all over the place, they need to sort of understand where their feet are underneath them. Where do I need to place it, and where do I need my hips to be balanced under? So if it's not a ladder, right, and you don't need a ladder, just pretend like between these cones it's a line. I'm going to do like a little bit of a 2-inch run just to sort of stay engaged, right, to get that foot speed. And then I'm going to step over the line. So I'm going to come in, step over. So yes, it's not really goalie specific-esque, but when I'm going and landing, right, I know how far my foot has to be out. I know I can't reach too far, otherwise I'm going to be out of position. So it's practicing where that foot needs to be in order to, even when you get to that more power type movements and pushing across your crease, you know where your foot is in space.
So what can you come up with in terms for guys that struggle with their ability to recover from a butterfly or move around in their knees? I know I'm throwing you on the spot here because we didn't give you any heads up. It's just let's get after her.
More power based. I know we did like a little bit of the stump jumps coming in, right? So that's more just building up hips, making sure you're getting underneath, pop up, right? If you don't have power of your hips, you won't be able to jump up, and you also you can't think about it. You just need to jump there.
Is there
The
any
other
way
one that
someone
we've
could scale an exercise like that?
Yeah. And some of the foot speed stuff we've been doing kickstand, stump jumps, right? So I have my foot out and I'm going to jump up using my other leg as a support, right? So I'm here jumping up, and this is sort of the position where you come up to the top of the crate. Well, you could criticize me for that if it is or is not. But it's very similar, right? It's that pattern when you're down here to jump up. A more regression off of that, and we also put out one, and we've been working on it over the last couple of days here, is just coming up onto a bench, right? So now I'm very upright. Now I have my foot in support because it's in line. All I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my hip. I'm jumping up, and I'm being quick with that foot underneath.
So when you do drills like this, you still want to have that, because you said you're building power. So you want to think about like being explosive in those movements, not just kind of going through the motions of the drills, actually taking them and trying to apply force and power and try to kind of build some strength.
Yeah. And it's also just learning too, right? So building power out of position, and also just being more comfortable getting power from being all the way down in your hips and coming up and exploding. So even if these drills, I think this drill would be easier. Everyone should be able to do that simply. But if people still don't have that awareness in their hip, they could always just do even just a split squat, getting comfortable down here in that isometric and sort of finding their spot in their hip before they come up and explode.
Would something like holding like a TRX or kind of the inside of a door, or just something to support their hands, is that beneficial, or is that kind of defeating the purpose?
No, it helps out to build up the movement. You just don't want to fully, like, as soon as you get that, you just don't want to use it as your crutch over time. So I rather just have your hands free, build up sort of that core stability on your own, especially since we have came up with these progressions and regressions, right? You could always go to a lower box. I just had this bench right beside me. You could always move your foot, right? So if I'm coming, I can move my foot in front of me, and that looks more like pretty much a split squat, right? Coming up to help me in that stump jump, and then you could get to the full stump jump, and then onto a box eventually.
So goalies that are looking to build recovery speed, the trick is lots of stump jumps. Like stump jumps is a good way.
It's a good way.
Perfect. Anything else you got, Jay?
No, I'm good. There's a lot of drills. There's enough to keep goalies busy for at least 1 to 2 weeks. And then make sure you guys are watching the skill development series, not only on hands, but on feet. And there's a lot of good content that we're putting out there for free on YouTube. So make sure you guys are checking it out. If you're not subscribed, subscribe and comment. Let us know things you want to see, and any comments, really. We're here to answer them all.
That's great. Taylor, where can anybody looking for foot speed drills or some power development, where can they find you?
I'm doing some stuff on T Woods Training on Instagram. So if you go on that page, I have stuff Monday to Saturday on there. Not some of it's goalie specific, some of it's overall general athletic development, but it's always good to hone into those athletic development skills, right? So
yeah, not everything has to be goalie specific either, guys. Make sure I think you nailed it when you said athlete specific. If we can pepper in, right? If we can pepper in some positional specific stuff, that might help you at the end, right? But it's not at the end of the day. When it comes down to it, it's about being an athlete first, and then having your athletic ability translate into your on ice development. So
it's a good banter topic that we could have, actually.
You mean interrupting me in the middle of a great point?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So thank you, Taylor. Guys that are at home still looking for stuff to do. If you guys have not been doing footwork drills or some of our hand speed drills, you guys are falling behind. So it's time to get off your butt and start working, because the season is coming, and it's coming faster than you guys think.